Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me, Bhargav? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bhargav. I'm a researcher at Salford University, and today I'll be talking about use of building information modeling in facilities management. And in particular, I'll be talking about a case study that I did in April in USA on a hospital project, which is the Maryland General Hospital in Baltimore. And can you change the slide, Ergo? And so in this presentation, we'll be looking at the use of BIM in closeout and post construction. Basically, that's what the contractor did. I'll be introducing the case study, how it was all set up, what are the benefits of using building information modeling in facilities management, and then I'll conclude and we'll go to the questions and answers. So next slide, please, Ergo. So the main reason, first of all, to do this case study was that not many case studies or kind of research projects look at use of building information modeling in post-construction stage. So there is a lot being done, which is during the design stage and the construction stage, but not a lot which is done during, like, after the building is handed over to the client. And also it is kind of well known that there are lots of difficulties and lots of inefficiencies around the process during the handover process, basically when the contractor finishes the job and hands over everything to the client. And really it is kind of put in lots and lots of boxes. It's archived and kind of sent to the client, and client just puts it in a basement somewhere or something like that. And then somehow, if the client uses a facilities management system, it still has to be re-entered more or less everything manually once they start kind of commissioning and using the building. So probably everyone who's there, you all know that a building costs significantly more during its life cycle. So after construction, than during design or construction. So the cost or the money spent on design or construction is far lower than actually maintaining and running the building on a daily basis. And for buildings which are like hospital buildings or large kind of school buildings or things like university buildings, these facilities management costs are really, really high. So, and also, as I just mentioned, that there is hardly any information regarding the building's infrastructure. It's captured, organized properly during the closeout stage or the handover stage, and most information has to be re-entered or it's manually managed in most of the cases. And probably you spend the whole of today looking at building information modeling. So you are aware of its capabilities, and it's not just a merely 3D modeling or visualization tool. It can be much more than that. It can be the central information model that the construction industry has been missing so far. So it can provide a source for information post occupancy, and we can capture all the relevant information regarding the important aspects of building during the construction stage itself, and then pass it over to the client. So that's why we should look at using BIM post construction. Next slide, please, Erko. So just to give you some background to the case study, the hospital building is based in Maryland in Baltimore. The hospital originally was founded in 1881 and is part of the University of Maryland Medical System. And the reason why this project was, it started because they needed an expansion of 9,600 square meter, because they wanted to add operating suites, some specialty rooms, and some intensive care units and so on. There were some aspects of this expansion which were it made it quite critical for the construction team, because the hospital building was to be, so the hospital itself had to function as normal as possible during the expansion was going on. So, for example, all the medical kind of services were continuing side by side during the construction phase, and that made it very, very difficult for the construction team. You know, it was mission critical for them to kind of provide exact dates to the client and things like that. So each aspect of construction had to be run on a clockwork, basically, and it had to be managed very, very carefully. So the expansion itself, it infilled an existing courtyard of 6-story and continued along the existing 2-story block. So it was like a 6-story expansion. And the contractor, so next slide. So you can hear me well, yeah? And so the contractor here was a company called Barton Mallow, who are based in South Michigan, and they have a regional office in Baltimore. And Barton Mallow, they consider themselves as they are steady BIM users, so they are not kind of what they call is that they use BIM fast/detection or visualization. So it's not just kind of the most common uses of BIM, but they want to use BIM for all sorts of novel aspects and take it beyond kind of your normal design and construction stages. And the contract originally, so the construction contract originally started as the traditional kind of low bid, but it eventually evolved into guaranteed max price, and it was mostly executed to the contractors, which were lump sum contracts. One of the most important things to note here is that the client had not mandated BIM, so there was no model, used by the architect. It was only when one of the project managers, Cory Emperor, when she saw opportunity to utilize a partial steelworks model, that the whole idea came together. So, next slide, please, Ergo. And so why she or why the client, why the team kind of decided to pay, and what were the key drivers here? So as I mentioned earlier, the inefficient handover process, which in turn impacts the FM processes. And particularly for this particular client, the life cycle of the equipment, it was optimized. So every time kind of a new equipment had to be fitted or there was a problem, a maintenance problem, it was just kind of, they were dependent on most senior people in the FM who had the knowledge of that equipment process. Otherwise, the documentation was just very difficult to follow, and it was very unorganized. And also the kind of the medical equipments, they have to be serviced regularly, and also they have warranty and other kind of operating information along with them. So those kind of information, it was not easily accessible. So the client was spending a lot of money buying new equipments where they could easily be serviced or maintained, but because they didn't have enough information of that and things like that. And also they did not have a ready inventory of equipment, so they didn't even know what sort of equipment they have. So there was a potential to link up asset data and medical equipment information with their with their existing FM system. And also, there was an opportunity to automate some of the maintenance and repair functions. So those were the key drivers for the EU. Next. Yeah. And so how they did it, basically. To begin with, the very first model was created by Steel Company. They hired an external CAD-tech online to produce a model. It was just for their own use, basically. It's not meant to be used for anything like web or visualization or anything. It was just for their own purpose and fabrication. But eventually, as I say, when the project manager saw this model, she thought she used it for others as well. They brought kind of all different things together in a software called maybe well, you are aware with TechLab. And so different models were modeled by characters. So ducting, MEP, CAD duct was map software systems, and other systems such as Bhargav, cable trays were also modeled by specialist design using their own software system. And then eventually, TechLab was used as the common platform, so they imported all the models using IFCs in TechLab. Can you put next slide, please?
Yes. So.
Is it? Okay. Do you want me to stop? Okay. Okay. And so, as I say, TechLab was used as the main BIM platform. And here then another kind of very important system that was used here called Vela. And Vela provides construction field management software. And so there was a lot of information that had to be captured in the field by, excuse me, by people who were fitting kind of were in the field, going through the closeout stage, so getting all these systems and testing it, and kind of getting the approval from the client. So all those stages, they wanted to track them using this system. And so they have a plugin, Vela Systems, which enables it to connect to TechLine and other BIM platforms. And they also used a barcoding system. So there are different ways one can track in such instances. So you can use RFID tags or barcodes, or in some instances they just use kind of a manual method. But in this instance they used barcodes, and they just use a standard kind of 39 11 character long barcode. And they used a software called Bartender, which helps generate barcodes. And as a field capture hardware solution, they used a tablet, which was a company called Motion Computing, to capture the field data. And this device, basically, it's a device which has a normal Windows installation, and it has two different readers on two ends. So it can read barcodes or RFID tags, and in this case they used it to kind of scan RFID tags into the system. Can you hear me, Bhargav? Yeah, okay. And so the basic process here, I think, can you show the next slide, but the slide after that, Bhargav? What, sorry?
Me vabandame, et meil on probleeme leviga ja tõlkijatel ei lähe tekst, nii et mida teeme? Kas katkestame ja läheme edasi?
Mm-hmm. So what do you want me to do? Do you want me to continue, or is Rafael taking? Mm-hmm. Okay. So can you go to the slide number 10, yeah? Okay. So the basic process that was followed was that all the models were synchronized and imported to Tekla, so all different models for the building. And then the next stage was to generate barcodes for each equipment. So this process was carried out for each medical equipment that was coming into the site. And so bartender was used to generate barcodes, and a barcode will be attached to a single piece of equipment. And then a spreadsheet was used to export element IDs from Tekla and then associate barcodes with this element ID. And so this particular spreadsheet then was then linked to Vela, which provided kind of like a central database. And it was also the link with the Tekla building information modeling software. And also customization was done in Tekla to capture the phase tracking information. So there were 4 distinct phases that were tracked, and so it was when the equipment it arrived on site. Bhargav, there is a lot of echo. Okay. And when the equipment was installed, the third stage was when it was tested, and the fourth stage was when it was by the client. And Vela was used to capture all relevant information about the installation. And so can you go back to the previous slide? Hello? Okay. So here you can see kind of the Tekla screen where it shows a custom, kind of a custom form to capture all the relevant information about a manufacturing, a manufacturing process and all the other equipment sort of details. Slide 11, please. So here you can see a barcode which is attached to a piece of equipment, and then it also shows how the barcode is kind of organized. So it captures, the barcode has all these 5 different information. So it has equipment attributes, manufacturer information, warranty information, service information, and startup information. So it's kind of organized like that. And then you have, this next slide, please. Yeah. So here the photograph shows that person is scanning a barcode which is attached to an equipment, and then the information that kind of kept is that. Next. So here, I don't know how clearly it shows there, but it's about equipment attributes. So you have manufacturer name, sorry, the address, the phone number, so information about the manufacturer. So next slide. So there are 4 stages. There's pre-commissioning, functional performance, where the equipment is tested, system startup, when the whole system where the equipment is connected is tested to make sure the system functions, and then the equipment acceptance. That's where kind of the signs off and accept installation. Yeah. Okay. The last one. The conclusion one, yeah, please. Oh. So anyway, I don't know how much you followed, but the idea here was to show was that the BIM solution was not there in the beginning, so the model was not even mandated by the client. But the key thing is that even though it was used only partially throughout the construction stage, it was a very key element in the FM process. So it was still used very effectively in the closeout stage and in the FM stage, which was quite innovative. And it shows that you don't, it's not necessary to have a building right from the beginning, but still have you can still use it effectively. And also, it shows that integration with other key systems is demonstrated is key. And client here is the beneficiary because they will be able to do facilities maintenance much more efficient. So I think that's it. I don't know.
No nii, tänan ja me palume Rafaeli, et ta veel veidi asja kommenteeriks. Paar sõna.
So I guess I can perhaps most help by answering any questions, if there are any specific questions. I think the important thing about this case study was that the owner was less aware of what the benefit would be here, and it was the general contractor, particularly from Bhargav, who, as they were doing the building and had built the model using a variety of software, came to the client and said, we can provide you with a much, much better service as a contractor, and we can give you added value by providing the model for you to do your facility management once the project concludes. And Bhargav had realized that they were responsible for doing the commissioning of all the equipment in the hospital. And they were able to manage their process of installing the machinery. Can you go one more slide or another? There was one, yeah, that's right. There is a lot of machinery like this, and because the contractor was responsible for installing it, and they were using many subcontractors, for their own purposes, they decided to use this portable computers to read the barcodes on all the machines 3 times, when they were delivered, when they were installed, and afterwards when they were tested, when they were commissioned. And in that procedure, they were gathering a lot of information, and they had all of this in their building model that they had built. And they then persuaded the hospital to take over the computers, the database, and the whole system to continue using through their facility maintenance. And the hospital adopted it very willingly. Afterwards, the hospital did some assessments of return on investment, and they found that the cost of the barcodes and the computers and the building modeling and the training was recovered in their maintenance of the hospital facility within 6 months or something, very, very short time. And they're obviously continuing to use it. So perhaps the message for any contracting company or even designers is that building modeling gives you the opportunity to provide new services to clients which you couldn't offer before, but which are very valuable and can earn a lot of money. I guess that's the bottom line.
So you want to continue with your own question?
Well, unless there are questions, yeah.
If there are questions.
No nii, kas keegi soovib selle teema kohta midagi Rafaelilt küsida, siis saab ka vastust. Ei ole. Rafael. Lugupeetavad. Stage is your. Nii kaua kui Rafael valmistub oma viimaseks ettekandeks kommentaar, miks see lõik siia tänasesse õhtusse on planeeritud. Kui te mäletate möödunud aastal, kui me rääkisime liin filosoofiast ja meile tagasi saadud tagasisides öeldigi, et Lauri Koskela liin filosoofia nagu Euroopa guru osutus meie kuule jaoks natukene liig akadeemiliseks. Ja kõik saalis pärast nõudsid, andke tööriistu, andke tools. Siis tänane päev ongi olnud ju nüüd pühendatud põhiliselt PIM-ile, kui ühele võimalikule tööriistale, mis liidab arhitekti, konstruktori, eriosade projekteerijad ja teised inimesed. Me mõtlesime eile koos nende härrasmeestega, milliseks võiks kujuneda järgmise 2011. aasta nagu sõnum, mida me tahaksime sellest valdkonnast teile tuua. Ja natuke olime juba ette mõelnud sellest ja idee sai meile selgeks siis, kui me olime detsembris 2009 Karlsruhes, kus põhiliselt oli päev või õigemini kogu maailmagrupi nagu teema integreeritud leping, mis võiks viia meid ehitusvaldkonnas tulevikus nagu edasi. Ja nüüd selle teemaga nagu sissejuhatavalt alustabki Rafael, ole hea.